This right back, Charlie, definitely.
There's always just that active when that defenders, I think, is like. There's always just that active when that defenders, I think, is like. There's always just that active when that defenders, I think, is like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. People deluded, I'm back again. Appreciative to all of you lot tuned in during this international break. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. I hope you're well and safe. I hope you and your loved ones are all blessed. As usual, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, appreciative of you lot tuned in. Join the discussion, comment any questions, thoughts, points of view, especially when we go over what we're going to go over. And yeah, lovely to have you lot here, man. I'm sure we're missing the Premier League, definitely, when we, kept a clean sheet against Manchester City, got 3 points, kept Haaland and all of them guys in the back pocket. The only time I saw Haaland, Phil Foden, and actually, the rest of their players is when they tried to have it on with our set piece assistant coach. I don't know what's going on there, really and truly. Big up yourself in the circle, Creeper. Appreciate you. As the man said, smash the like button. If they sell Smith-Rowe for less than 60 million after signing Havertz, I'll be done. That will be the Arteta out trigger. I can't say I'll be Arteta out if we, was to get rid of Smith-Rowe necessarily, but we would like to hold a club to ransom potentially. What I would say is, while we know Smith-Rowe's got his best days in front of him, he has shown to himself to be an England international, one of the first names on the team sheet. His stock has probably taken a hit because he can't buy first-team minutes or significant first-team minutes under Mikel Arteta, much less starts, and he's almost a forgotten star, really, and it's quite unusual in that he is holding on to the Arsenal number 10. I hope it gets better for him, really and truly, but yeah, man, appreciative to you lot tuned in. Always watching your streams, you're entertaining streamer, to be honest. Arsenal for life, I appreciate that, man. I don't know if that's true, but if I'm worthy of praise from people like yourself, then one love, my guy. Appreciative to that. So yeah, man, obviously after the international break, I think we've got, in fact, I know we've got Chelsea, but what are our actual fixtures actually? That's something I should know. I'm actually working on a piece about is William Saliba world class. I've closed Adobe right now, but yeah, I will be working on that. Appreciative to you lot that are here and were part of my other streams. At 4 p.m, I will go live again. I'm going to have a Liverpool and Spurs fan. I guess we'll talk Arsenal, we'll talk Liverpool, we'll speak Spurs, and just general football stuff and everything, really. It should be a right laugh. And again, if you've got any topics or talking points that you want discussed at 4 p.m, then let me know in the comments, and also go to the YouTube community tab where I've asked you lot for potential comments. But yeah, after the international break, we end October with a trip to Stamford Bridge, our training ground. Then we go to Sevilla in the Champions League, which is a difficult trip to Spain. I think they've actually got a new manager during this international break. We end the month with Sheffield United at home, people. So 3 more victories, definitely 2 in the Premier League, and it goes without saying we need to react in the Champions League. It's a testing run from now to the end of the year, really and truly, because from October, all the way to December, you've got Chelsea, Sevilla, Sheffield United in the EFL Cup in the last 16 or round of 16. We have West Ham away. After that, in the Premier League, we have Newcastle away. Then we welcome Sevilla at home. Then we welcome Burnley at home. Then we travel to Brentford. Then we play Lens at the Emirates. Hopefully, we get a bit of revenge. Then you've got Wolves, who Pedro Neto is in great form. Then you've got Luton away. Then Aston Villa away, playing our former manager Nuno Emre, who's apparently got a bust up with Telemans now. Then we travel to Holland to play PSV. Then we welcome Brighton, a trip to Anfield on the 23rd of December, which can make or break Christmas, really. Boxing Day, we welcome West Ham to the Emirates. The 30th of December, we travel to Fulham. And then on the 13th of January, we commence better yet 2024 with Crystal Palace. So there's a lot of football, a lot of talking points. And while the fans, including myself, we can be excited about beating Manchester City, waffle about it, the players, for those of you that are obviously playing for their countries, fair enough, but the happiness stops in it. You enjoy the night, and now we need to focus on Chelsea and all the other games, because beating Manchester City means nothing in my opinion, if we don't go on a run now end the year strong. We need to get into that December, January period. It doesn't really matter to a degree where you are in the table, but still in and amongst the pack, still realistically with an opportunity of winning a trophy in some capacity. I'm hoping we get to see more of Miles Lewis-Skelly. Listen, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Lino Sosa, Waters, Koza Dewberry, Ethan. There's a whole bunch and other players as well, man. You got a couple of under 18s and schoolboys. You know, let's just let them develop. Of course, I'd like to see them, but reality is, when are they going to get the opportunity? Of course, I'd like to see them make debuts and get on the bench, but we're fighting for the Premier League. Unless there's mad injuries or they're necessarily ready, like, you know, not everyone does the Bukayo Saka thing. I can't expect to see them. You never know against West Ham in the League Cup. You might, but I don't expect to see them in that. I don't expect to see them in the Champions League, really. Who knows? With the turn of the year in the FA Cup and the fixture list calendar, obviously that opens up opportunities. You know, as much as I talk about being ready, in theory, when are young players ready? In truth, you never really know. CeeLo, appreciate you as well. So yeah, interesting talking points to kick things off, people. As I said, keep smashing the like button. Let's look at exactly what's being said in the news, really. Where's the tabs? Tab police, look away now. I'm just letting you lot know from now. First things first, Newcastle United discussed January move for Arsenal's Emil Smith-Rowe. Again, the more that Smith-Rowe seems on the peripheral of things at Arsenal and doesn't really play, these things are never going to go away. 1 minute it's West Ham, then it's Aston Villa. Today it's Newcastle, in which Champions League football, you know, big fan base, good manager in Eddie Howe. You know, Newcastle on an upward trajectory. You could do a lot worse than Sam for them, really. I'm more open to letting Smith-Rowe go on loan if he has to leave them permanently, because I believe form is temporary, class is permanent. And if nothing more, we've got a very good squad player here. But apparently Newcastle's ownership group will meet to firm up their January transfer plans in the next 2 weeks, with Arsenal's Emil Smith-Rowe having emerged as an early potential target for the turn of the year. Scrolling all the way down, people. With Newcastle having spent around 120 million on Tonali, Barnes and Livramento in the summer, and committed more than 30 million to the likely purchase of Lewis Hall when his current loan deal expires at the end of the season, there is unlikely to be scope for major incomings in January. However, with the Magpies fighting on 4 fronts this season and hoping to qualify for Europe again next term, there's a determination to do everything possible to support Howe's ongoing attempts to continue driving Newcastle forward. It's understood that Smith-Rowe has already been discussed within Newcastle's recruitment team as a potential target, with his lack of game time with Arsenal this season potentially opening the door for transfer. Get games, maybe even get back in Southgate's thinking, but simply put, he's 23, needs to play games. The 23-year-old's only senior start for Arsenal this term came in the Nketiah Cup, and his only Premier League involvement came courtesy of 2 substitute appearances that amounted to a combined total of 10 minutes. He was an unused substitute as Arsenal beat City at the weekend, and while he boasts his 3 senior England caps, the fact he was not even considered for Gareth Southgate's current squad underlines the extent to which his career has stagnated in the last year or so. The Londoner has also been linked with a possible move to West Ham United, and while Mikel Arteta will be reluctant to lose anyone in January, which I think we should hold on to players, with his side in the midst of a Premier League title challenge, the Spaniard could come under pressure to allow Smith-Rowe to leave if an acceptable offer is received. What is the acceptable offer? It's been suggested Arsenal value Smith-Rowe at around 50 million, but FFP rules would almost certainly force Newcastle to be creative when it came to putting together a deal for the attacking midfielder. Could that be a loan with an obligation to buy? I don't know. Ideally, the Magpies would also almost certainly, initially prefer a loan deal with a view to a permanent transfer in the future, which is the arrangement that enabled them to complete Hall's summer move from Chelsea. Whether that would interest Arsenal remains to be seen, although Arsenal, or better yet Arteta, did agree to the loan departure of both Kieran Tierney to Sociedad and Lokonga to Luton Town in the summer. Both, unfortunately, are injured at the moment and will be out for a while. Newcastle will also look to move on 2 or 3 of their fringe players in January. Fair enough. So that's where Smith-Rowe is concerned. We've been linked with Arthur Vermeeren, who, if you've been watching the Champions League the last couple of years, has been doing well, drawn interest from Man United, Arsenal now, and also Barcelona. Really good technical level. He's actually learning under Van Bommel at Antwerp, people. Arthur Vermeeren, again, forgive me for mispronunciation, is one of the most exciting teenage talents in Europe, and Arsenal are joining the line of top clubs looking to target him. At just 18 years of age, he's being tipped to become a complete midfielder after an exciting breakthrough at Royal Antwerp last term, but his current strengths lie in his defensive capabilities, which I don't know about you lot, let me know, but I think if you've got Declan Rice, Partey, Jorginho and now Nene, within the next 2 years, 18 months, I don't know if any of them will still be here. You know, we've got a good spine of the club now. You know, you've got Kirill, you've got Zinchenko, you've got Tomiyasu, you've got Timber, you've got Gabriel, you've got Saliba. I'm probably missing out a next one. You've got Declan Rice carrying on the theme with the spine of the team. They've added, you know, diversity in options of what Mikel Arteta wants to go with individually and collectively. They've added height and they've added quality. Personally, I think if we could get another number 8, an out-and-out 8, for as much as the experiments with Smith-Rowe, who can play as an 8, per se, Fabio Vieira and Kai Havertz, I think we'd be cooking. I think we need another 6 as well, the somewhat long-term replacement to Thomas Partey. And then I think we're quote-unquote sorted in midfield as well, if I'm honest with you. So I'm all for that. And at 18 years of age, of course, he has experience, but he's inexperienced. But there is a good foundation. And he ties into what we're doing as a club, people. Man United have been linked with him recently, along with Liverpool, West Ham, Brighton, and Barcelona. But sources have indicated to Team Talk that Mikel Arteta's side are also taking keen interest. Scouts from all of Europe's major leagues have been clamoring to get a close-up view of Vermeeren, who has just been called up to replace Arsenal's Leandro Trossard in the Belgium squad. So he's drawing a lot of interest, and now he's been put into the Belgium squad. We've got to remember there's a Euros at the end of the year, so they'll make decent money on him. Yet the long-term strategy at the Emirates could become one of more intriguing pathways that he has to consider when he decides to kick on to the next stage of his career. Declan Rice signing in the summer was a significant moment for the Gunners, particularly as they beat Manchester City to the deal by overpowering them financially, but also because they convinced Rice they will help him reach his personal aims. Fair enough, people. His ball striking ability is somewhat underestimated, and with the former West Ham captain now playing in a side who dominate possession, there's an expectation around the club that his growth sees him put up improved numbers in terms of goals and assists. Fair enough, really and truly. We all know we would have loved to have had Lavia. We were linked with Caicedo. We've also been linked with Ivan Toney as well. People apparently, you know, Brentford want anything from 80 to 100 million. Some conservative people say 50 to 60. So we'll have to see. But I'm all for bringing another midfielder to the carpet, people. Arsenal must continue to build for the future, and that means a blend of buying players that are already established and also adding emerging stars. Vermeeren undoubtedly has the talent to make it at the highest level, and it is no surprise Arsenal see him as a good profile to be tracking at this stage. And interestingly, the director of football at Antwerp is Mark Overmars, a former Arsenal player and former done that role at Ajax, but he had to leave. Other clubs have shown an interest. You've got Ajax, Leipzig, and Dortmund. So that's Ajax, Leipzig, Dortmund, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal. What else? Other teams were there? Brighton. Everybody's running the rule over him. Everybody's interested in everyone, whether teams correlate that to bidding in January or the summer or monitoring him long term. Whether he actually wants to leave is another thing, really and truly. So we'll have to see exactly what's being said in that regards, if I'm completely honest with you. Big up yourself, Schema. Would you consider Fofana an out-and-out 8? Not really, but I like him a lot. Belgium talent, ain't it? Leave it alone. A bit harsh, you know. You got Kevin De Bruyne, Courtois, Hazard. There's ballers everywhere, whatever nationality, really, if I'm honest with you. And if we could find them, fair enough. But having gone over there and found Lokonga, I can't blame you for thinking that way. Arteta pushing Arsenal hard to sign 80 million striker. Sorry for hitting the mic. They're seen as final piece in dethroning Man City. Arsenal stepped up their efforts to reinforce their attack this January in a bid to help Mikel Arteta take the club to its first Premier League trophy in 18 years. Ivan Toney is a key target, and the club have been working on a potential deal to bring the Brentford man in this winter, with latest conversations between both parties happening as recent as a few days ago. Chelsea are also keen and have given Pochettino the green light to bring an experienced striker, with Toney ticking all the boxes. However, Arsenal are understood to be in a very strong position for his signature, and Arteta is a key part of the plan. The 27-year-old is a huge fan of the Spaniard side and has been watching the team with real interest, with sources stating he'd be keen to play in the current Gunners side. This has put Arsenal on the front foot in discussions as a bidding war looks set to commence between the London sides. Sources state that Arsenal are prepared to make a huge push, as there's a belief that they are on the whatever of Premier League glory. You know, I can't pronounce that, whatever that is. Voices at the club say there is huge belief that the squad is only missing a proper striker, and once that arrives, the final piece of the puzzle will be in place. Eddie Nketiah, Jesus, and Kai Havertz have all taken up the striker role this season, but have only got 4 goals between them, which shows they're a bit shy in front of goal. I think chance conversion and creating is something that we can improve in. I'm a big fan of Jesus. I'm sure you are as well. That's the striker for me. I do like Eddie Nketiah when he comes in to fill in a void, but we do probably need better. And you could argue Kai Havertz has looked the best in an Arsenal shirt playing through the number 9. But, you know, regardless of if you're an out-and-out striker, a target man, a poacher, a false 9, you need to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. That is probably the most significant weakness of Kai Havertz's game, that, you know, it's like Bambi on roller skates on ice in front of goal. I don't think any of the three really are it, but Jesus is it for me anyways. Tony is expecting to leave the club in January. Brentford are already preparing for his departure and hope to land up to 80 million for their star man. However, there's information that suggests the deal could be possible for less than that figure. I think the only things going against it is that, you know, Arsenal don't want to probably get in a bidding war. Do they believe Ivan Toney can take us to the next level, which, you know, in a squad that's going to create more, I think he can, and I'm a big fan of his. He's got 18 months left on his deal and he's got a new agent. But what is his fitness? You know, obviously he's back in training now. He's played some behind closed doors friendlies. But while I believe, you know, a signing, if not Toney or, you know, a striker or a winger could give us a new push, how fit is Ivan Toney ready to hit the ground running? I don't know. We'd have to see. Saw the Smith-Rowe Newcastle rumors. Please, Edu and Mikel, don't let this move happen. This guy will shine for us. Trust me. Hard to choose Havertz's biggest weaknesses. He has so many. I'd say in front of goal. Really and truly. You know, you're not convincing in front of goal. I don't know where we're at with Havertz because he can play in a bunch of roles, but where does he fit in immediately in this Arsenal system? I guess Mikel Arteta is going to have to figure it out. Fabrizio Romano responds to Arsenal transfer links with players' current brother. Allegedly, Arsenal have recently been one of the clubs linked with Feyenoord midfielder Quinten Timber, the brother of, you know, Jeroen Timber, who joined them from Ajax in the summer. Fabrizio Romano has responded to those Arsenal rumours. Let's see exactly what he has said. Quinten Timber, despite recent links with Arsenal and other clubs, I honestly have no update on Timber with Arsenal or any other club. He's a very good talent, but he needs to keep going. Giroud is at another level in terms of top elite football, but Quinten is very talented too, and he has the potential to arrive at a top level too. I mean, if he's anything like his brother, get it done, really and truly. His exit, Arsenal told they should have signed £58 million start as Partey could yet leave, where we heard this before. Charles Watts has stated that Mikel Arteta's Arsenal should have signed Lavia. He's not really fit at this moment in time. Specifically, what has he said? I would have liked someone like Lavia from Southampton. I think he would have been a good option, but I can see why the move didn't happen this summer. I do think the time to think about Partey's exit will be this summer. As I just said, he's contracted until 2025. I don't know if I would do it, but I think there's certainly something Arsenal will think about given his contract. There's only a year left, given his age and injury record. If a good offer comes in for him, it's kind of similar to what last summer was. We knew it was something they were open to. If something came in that was tempting, I think that would be the case again this summer. So we'll have to see, really. Arsenal still keen on Bundesliga wonderkid despite new contract, was still in for Borussia Dortmund star Jamie Bonon-Gittens. Allegedly, people. As you know, he signed a new deal, people. I wouldn't say he's setting the world alight necessarily at Dortmund, but he is a talented player. He's been at Reading, he's been at City. Probably best that he stays at Dortmund for a while now, but Arsenal are looking for a wide man and he fits the profile to some degree. Arsenal remain keen on the attacking midfielder and are currently leading the race for his signature, according to German outlet Blind. Allegedly, people. He's starting to attract interest. We'll have to see where this goes, really and truly. And he's just signed a new deal, so that could be difficult. I wonder who we're going to replace Partey with in the summer. It has to be a certified number 6, whoever that is. I don't know. Big up yourself, Els. I hope you're doing well and safe. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Gabriel Jesus has been speaking, people. He says he's happy to play wherever Arsenal need him, despite moving to the club to occupy the 9 role. We all knew at some point he wasn't going to be the out-and-out 9. The only thing he misses is goals. 11 goals in 33 appearances across all comps last season. The only mediocre aspect of Jesus' game, in my opinion, is him in front of goal. It's a bit of a weird one in that the easy chances he doesn't bag, and then the difficult chances, you know, I look at Leicester at the Emirates last season, I look at the goal against PSV, I'm definitely missing out another one. Jesus scores the difficult chances, and I think when he took the ball off Maddison in the North London derby and then missed, that sums up Jesus. I think Jesus is a manager's dream in that he can play everywhere and be effective on the left, on the right, and through the middle, as he has shown in an Arsenal shirt. But at 26 years of age, this is when strikers are now coming into their peak. Obviously, you can improve on the goal scorer in front, but arguably, if he's not a natural goal scorer now, a 20, 30 league goal man now, I wouldn't rule it out because I think he's too good of a player to not be able to do that. I think he can do that, but to play devil's advocate, if he hasn't got that in his game now, I don't think he'll ever have it, if I'm completely honest with you. Look at him for Brazil. He does play through the middle for Brazil, but more often than not, he's playing on the left or the right. So we'll have to see. Once again, you know, we're considering a move for Ivan Toney, and apparently they're ready to cash in for around 80 million. Will Arsenal go for him for 80 million in January? Or, you know, if it came down to Pedro Neto or Toney, where would they probably lie? I do want a striker, but in the last few days, I must admit, maybe it's because of how Pedro Neto has started this season. If you offered me in the summer a striker or a winger, I probably would have went towards a striker. In the last few days and weeks, I'm not going to lie, if you was to offer me Pedro Neto or Ivan Toney, I want both ideally. but I'm leaning towards Pedro Neto, if that makes sense. That being said, I would like another striker. For what it's worth, Jesus said, it's worth pointing out that I've been playing a lot of roles at Arsenal. Obviously, when I chose to move from City to Arsenal, Edu and Arteta spoke to me and I made it clear that I'd like to play 9. That was Arsenal's idea for me to play 9 loose. This season has been different. We've had injuries, and in the last few games, I've played 3 up front. For a while, I thought I'd just say I wanted to play 9, but I'm here to help the team. I'm blessed by God to have this talent and versatility to play in all 3 forward positions. I prefer not to choose. So I think that tells you that he's kind of accepted, really and truly, where he's at. I don't think we've missed anything out here, really. Well, in fact, these are the extended quotes. At Palmeiras, I did it a lot. I think it was the club I did it at the most. When I started playing more centrally, I played as a central forward, very loose, and doing the Falcao. That's where I did it the most. The first thing Dennis said when I came in for the other call-up was that he wanted to see the Gabriel from Palmeiras from City. What about Arsenal? He's been good in an Arsenal shirt. Smash the like button. Let me know your thoughts, people. At City, I played a lot with Aguero, and I was the one who went out more, ran more. And at Arsenal, I'm quite loose. With Martinelli and Saka on my side, I swap a lot with Martinelli, but it's a more controlled game. It's a different game. Obviously, we follow Denis's work at Fluminense, and it's no wonder they're in the Libertadores final, people. Which is fair enough, really and truly, for Jesus. Big up yourself. I can't see any signings in January unless there's injuries at the back. Only the right deal. I can't see us, obviously there are deals in January. Trossard, for example, he had a bit of a bust up at Brighton and he was available. So there is, players' contracts are running down. There is kind of deals you can get in January, especially if deals are running down. But Ivan Toney, if you're Brentford, do you let him go now? Especially because Brentford haven't been as good as they have been in previous years. Do you let him go now? Do you let him go in the summer? Pedro Neto, do you let him go now? Do you let him go in the summer? According to what you're trying to achieve. So you kind of have to probably pay more than a premium. If we was quoted 50 million for Pedro Neto, for example, in the summer, what are they going to quote us in January? George Mendes, his agent, could help us out a bit. The player could go on strike and do whatever. Arsenal might be able to do a thing, but is it too ridiculous to assume they would want 70 or 80? Because especially if you're Arsenal, you sit there and say, listen, you had 65 million for Havertz, you had 105 million for Declan Rice. The last 2 summers, you have been spending quite handsomely. Neto for me. Big up yourself, Jay. Big up Deluded. Surely this Nketiah cameo is to secure a young 40 million to help towards Tony and Jan. I'm not gonna lie. If Eddie Nketiah can be used either permanently or loan in a make weight sort of thing, maybe even Smith-Rowe on loan to kind of get us Tony, I'm all for it. But for me, regardless what you think of Eddie Nketiah, I'm a bit reluctant to let, kind of what I just said, I'm a bit reluctant to let players go anyways. Like, if Partey wanted to leave, for example, Smith-Rowe wanted to leave, for example, if Nketiah, me personally, I want to hold on to all of you until the summer, really, because I want us to be prepared. As you've seen in the last 2 years, when we've got to that final furlong of the season, that is where things have gone wrong. A lot of it has been down to mentality and being able to get over the line. A lot of it has been due to injuries. And whatever you think about Eddie Nketiah, he might not be a star boy and all these things, but he's proven he can do a job, provided people pick up the slack elsewhere, if I'm honest. DG, I read your blog today. I appreciate your honest opinions on your experience of the social media space. Is very inspiring. I appreciate you, Els, for taking the time to read that. Someone remind me, I'll drop the link, people. Go and check that out. I thought, let me try my hand at writing a bit. You lot always, a lot of you always get onto me and say you should write a lot more. And I thought it was I quite enjoyed it, really and truly, if I'm honest with you. It's a bit of a different one. I like to think I didn't spare any punches. So yeah, I've just dropped the link in there. It is what it is. Big up Fire, man. I don't even have to read what he's gonna say. I know Eddie Nketiah there slander there, as he said there. I mean, 40 million in today's day and age isn't too unrealistic for Eddie Nketiah. He's become, I wouldn't say he's a proven goal scorer, but he's proven for a team that is fighting for the league that he can do a job and do a role. And he's arguably become a Premier League established player. Obviously, he's in the England camp now. Obviously, if we get a new striker, Eddie Nketiah's got a decision to make. And wages might play a part, but a bit harsh. You should be able to get at least 40 million for Eddie Nketiah, really, which is good business considering we got him for free. Which reminds me, DJ, are you watching the Copa Libertadores final? I'm not going to sit here and cap. When is it? I don't know when it is, but why not? It's not like there's much football. I'm probably going to do a watch along for Arsenal. Arsenal. I will for Arsenal, but for England, Australia as well, people. Again, we're dying to watch football, essentially. Where are we at? We've covered that. We've gone over that. Where are we at with that? We've spoken about Smith-Rowe already. We've spoken about Jesus. We've gone over Newcastle's interest. Barcelona weighing up January move for Jorginho. Another one where if the price is right, personally, I would let Jorginho go. But you see me, you can go in the summer. Anyone that wants to cut, you can cut in the summer. Obviously, if certain offers are put at Arteta and Edu's feet that you can't refuse. You can't refuse. If players make it clear they want to leave, one player I would say needs to bust out is Cedric. But at the same time, I don't rate Cedric. If we can't get a defensive body in January, and depending on Timber's recovery time scale, if he's ahead of schedule, probably need to hold on to him, really. Jorginho, I like him. I think he's got a wealth of experience. I think there's, I would say over 38 games, Jorginho's not a man for me that is going to play significant minutes. But you see, like the City game and things like that, there's a couple of games which could prove pivotal across the calendar year for us, where Jorginho can come in and do a job. And I personally think we're a bit too light in midfield. As I said, in terms of pure, what I mean by that is in terms of pure centre mid options, like for me, that is Declan Rice, that is Thomas Partey, that would be El Nene, that would be Jorginho. Obviously, you've got the kind of rotating 8s, 8.5s, unorganic 8s. You've got the Fabio Vieiras, the Smith-Rowes, the Odegaards, who could actually play there. And I want to see at some point in his career him play there. I'm defo missed out a player. I don't know if I said, wait, let me start again. Fabio Vieira, Smith-Rowe, Odegaard. I'm defo missing someone else out, but I'm sure you will get the point. I don't think we should let Jorginho go. I couldn't begrudge him if he says, yo, Gaffer, I want to cut and go to Barcelona. This is a man that's been linked with Barcelona, been linked with Saudi, forever getting linked with clubs in Turkey. I wonder if, obviously he's a Brazilian-born Italian international. I wonder if he wants to go back to Italy, where I think Jorginho's like 32. That's basically 22 in Italian football. I wonder if he wants to go back to Brazil. I wonder if he wants to stay in London because he loves Carnival, really. Apparently, Xavi is keen to strengthen his midfield. That's where it comes from. Apparently, Barcelona offered Kimmich last summer. I can't lie. If we could do that, Arteta, he can play right back and centre mid. You lot all know me. I'm a fan of Zubamendi. Okay, so Jorginho's approaching his 32nd birthday. And I think there's a wealth of things Jorginho is and can teach to the players. Like for me, I think personally with Declan Rice, for example, I think you will see the best from Declan Rice next season. And what I mean by that is, of course, the West Ham Declan Rice, he's doing it in an Arsenal shirt. He's bossing it. He's doing greatly. But I just think a year under Mikel Arteta and what he demands from a 6 and how we play, I think you'll see a lot more next season of Declan Rice on the ball. And Declan Rice, back in his early days at West Ham, he referenced Jorginho as a player he learns from. There's someone, he's now your teammate. If Declan Rice can keep doing what Declan Rice does and to a degree do a bit of that Jorginho stuff, he'll become a complete midfielder. I also believe with Trossard, I don't know how long Trossard's going to be at the club, but Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, Reece Nelson, all of you lot, there's a lot that you lot could learn from someone like Trossard, in my opinion, really and truly. So I personally wouldn't, money talks and players can do what they want, but me personally, I wouldn't let Jorginho leave in January, if I'm honest. If FFP says Eddie has to bounce in Jan, then it must be done. I hear that, man. I hear that. You lot be friends in the chat. Be friends. Smith-Rowe allegedly is a potential target for Newcastle United. And I mean, we don't know if they're over-exaggerating the interest or not, but every player, every club that's either the Tonys, the Netos, the players in high demands, or players like Smith-Rowe that can't really buy minutes, they're always going to be linked. And I do wonder in the next 18 months, 2 years, what the future has for Eddie Nketiah, for Reece Nelson. I think Smith-Rowe's a bit different from them, man, but Smith-Rowe will get based on the minutes. Jesus is good at link-up play. Probably not the sort of out-and-out number 9 that will score a lot of goals over the season. That's why I think it's a weird one, because on ability, Jesus has the ability to score them goals, but I don't know what it is. Like you said, he can do everything else, but in terms of being a natural goal scorer, he's not really that. He's perfect outside of the area. Once you start getting into the opponent's box, that's where his struggles really are, which naturally, if you were to bring in another striker, Jesus becomes another winger, as we've seen with Tony. But if we get him, I don't see him having a heavy goal streak. The way we play involves the striker being involved in play, not a fox in the box. Look what happened to Aubameyang and Laka. But you could argue Ivan Toney's, the way he plays is quite similar, really and truly, to Jesus. I actually think last season, if I can remember correctly, despite Jesus' injuries, Ivan Toney only had 3 non-penalty goals more than Jesus. So I think that tells you about the creativity levels at Arsenal and also at Brentford. I think it tells you about maybe chance conversion and creation that both teams have to think about. And I think Ivan Toney doesn't necessarily lift the club, but, you look at Liverpool at the time of them signing Salah. We all know Salah's a bad boy footballer, but I don't think anybody thought that was a level raiser. I don't think Mane was a level raiser necessarily. I don't think, people believe that with Firmino, but suddenly you do the right things, you get them players and it looks wavy. The only players I would say when Liverpool were doing what they were doing that I would describe at the point of walking in the club as level raisers was Alisson. You look at the money they spent, Van Dijk the same, but if you spend correctly, arguably if the base flooring of your ability of your squad is a certain level, then that is a level raiser. arguably. But if they are saying Ivan Toney for 80 odd million, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Look, I'd rather try for Osimhen or wait to the summer. But again, things you do or don't do in January, which we've seen in the last 2 years, positively last year, negatively the year before that, could boost or, hinder your chances of whatever you're trying to achieve. It's going to be the deadest January transfer window for everyone. No one wants to sell their players during the campaign. As we always say, January is a reactive window. If you're a football manager in an ideal world, you don't want to sell or buy anybody in January. Obviously, if a situation on the market is too good to turn down, fair enough. But you would have done everything in the summer. You would have had the squad depth. You would have got rid of the players that weren't part of it. Everyone would have ideal minutes. But we all know January is a reactive window. Essentially, Reece and Eddie on the way out, in my opinion. Unless there's significant improvement, then it does feel like at some point that's that. But considering we've signed them to new deals, we should be able to get decent money. People have to accept reality. Eddie's been in the first team going 4 years now and has done nothing exceptional. You've got very low expectations for us. To be fair, in the last 18 months, he's done well. Tony is not an upgrade. He'll just be Lacazette in our setup. It's a waste of money, in my opinion. We can't do stopgaps. There is a stopgap like Trossard, I think you meant to say. So I think you mean Trossard's one. I'm conflicted on Smith-Rowe, but I don't want to see him rot on the bench. I want to see you rot on the bench. I want to see at Arsenal. Of course, I want you to play, but to a degree, I don't really care. I want everyone to play, but I don't really care who's got minutes or who's unhappy, really. I want Arsenal to have too many players, or obviously not too many, but if there's any injuries, we can cope, because we've always played a very fine game and it's left us short. If it's winter time, you want to have a lot. Like, imagine you've got 5 jackets on. You've got the luxury now of, okay, it's a bit too hot. Let me take off 1-2 jackets, leave them in the house or the car. Where we've been going out in like 1 jacket and the weather's been suitable, and we're hoping that the weather don't drop a couple more, what they even call weather in it, but drop a little more and get colder. And if it gets colder, in problems. It's a tough time, and we've already had to cope with injuries. The games are coming thick and fast, as we've seen already. And for some of our players that are playing in the international break, the last 2 years have been hell. If you've played at a World Cup, you've now got a Euros. There's a bag of games. They're coming every 3 days. We've seen the injuries. We're competing in free trophies at the moment. We're still in the League Cup, still in the Champions League. Premier League games are coming thick and fast. The games around the festive period are coming thick and fast. And then you've got the FA Cup to come into it, really. And God forbid, but injuries can strike at any time. Touch wood. And it's nice to know that, pause. It's nice to know Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, and Saliba have all withdrawn from their international setup. But what's to say, tomorrow we wake up and a player suffered from an injury while they ain't even played for the club? Eddie would do well at a smaller club where he can start and get a run. I mean, if he could be used in a mate weight, I'm all on that. What has he done, DG, apart from that last-minute goal to beat Man United? What has Eddie done? I think Eddie in the last 18 months has done well to fill the void with that Jesus has left, and I think at times he hasn't scored, but I think sometimes he's scored and not actually played that well. Sometimes he's not scored and he's done quite well. I think he's actually, in his own way, retained Arteta's faith. That being said, of course, if you could upgrade on Eddie Nketiah, great. We shouldn't really be relying on Eddie Nketiah to where we want to go to the scapegoat, to the standard he's playing at the moment. But I don't think we have to lie to ourselves and move like he's been absolutely appalling. Is he my cup of tea? Is he the breadwinner? Is he the match winner? Is he trailblazing? Should he have the number 14 shirt? Should he play this much? I'm not too sure, really. But I don't think we have to make out he's crap, because I don't believe that with Eddie Nketiah, and he's one of our own. I feel bad for Smith-Rowe, but I want him to stay, but it's not looking good, bro. There you have it. DG, would you be shameless if the right price came in for Zinni in the summer? You'd have to bring me another inverted left back in it, because it seems like Arteta is doing away with Tierney. I don't know what the reality has from Tierney. It's a bit different because he didn't go on loan under Mikel Arteta, but El Nene went on loan once, and now he's got somewhat of a role at Arsenal. I'd love for Tierney to have a role, but the system has left Tierney in it, so you'd have to buy another inverted fullback, whoever that is, wherever they are. I don't know. I'd play Jesus where Arteta plays Havertz for his link-up play if we get a new striker. To be fair, you could maybe, in theory, move Odegaard next to Rice or Partey, have Jesus as not a 10, but like a support striker if he's not going to play out wide, and then have this big boy striker, really and truly. But I do think the way we're moving, probably need to stop getting hung up or fixated on necessarily systems or starting 11s. I know this is harsh, but I don't think Eddie starts for the top 10 league teams in the Premier League. I think our style doesn't suit Eddie, just like Pep. I mean, Eddie's quite ineffective when he doesn't get much touches, but he showed me with his hold-up play and other things that there are a handful of games you can get away with him. Once again, of course, I would love it to be Gabriel Jesus. I'd actually love it to be Gabriel Jesus, a next striker, whether that's Tony Osimhen, Gabriel Jesus. Then if Arteta wants to do the false nines with Trossard, with Havertz, these sort of things. And then you've got Eddie in the squad, really and truly, if I'm honest. Goals win games. A striker's job is to score. If you don't do it in real life, you get fired. That's true. Very true. But at the same time, in the Mikel Arteta system, the strikers have never been the most potent men in front of goal. And it sounds dumb, but it's not necessarily what they're relying on the most. But I do agree with you. I think all the other bits and pieces of Eddie Nketiah's game are improving. The goals now need to be there. And it's the hardest thing to do in football. The two hardest things to do in football is to play simple football, pass where you need to pass, shoot when you need to shoot, defend properly, and put balls in the back of the net. Arsenal face competition for Wolves winger Pedro Neto in 2024 transfer race, as expected, really, especially with his form. Arsenal retain a long-standing interest in Wolves winger Pedro Neto, but will face competition for his signature if they make a move for him next year. The 23-year-old has been at Wolves since 2019, making over 100 appearances for the club despite them injuries. Although he has not been a regular on the score sheet, scoring just 12 times in all comps, which his output can improve, but this season has actually done well. However, he has looked extremely dangerous at times and has attracted the attention of bigger clubs, notably Arsenal. Romano told Court Offside that the Gunners have been tracking the Portugal international for a long time and were interested in signing him in the summer of 2022. Wolves were not interested in letting him go then, but Romano reports that a move in 2024 looks very likely, be it in January or in the summer transfer window. Arsenal are not the only team to be keen on Neto, although with the race to sign him described as absolutely open. Neto's 5 assists so far this season mean that no player has provided more in the Premier League this campaign, level with James Maddison and Trippier. I think players of the season so far, or players in form, I think Neto's up there, I think Saka's up there, I think Bowen's up there, I think Maddison's up there. So yeah, man. And obviously, when we think of Neto, or for me, you probably think of him on the right-hand side, but he's shown on the left he could do a thing, really. So it's not just him or Saka. You could have Pedro Neto on the left, Saka on the right, Jesus through the middle, Martinelli's in the mix, and all bunch of other things. We'd love to wake up and Smith-Rowe's back doing what he used to do, and you'd love to wake up and Nelson looks like what he was projected to be. Then Arteta's got some good problems. Obviously, Trossard's in the cut as well. So it doesn't surprise me. There's going to be interest for everybody. Good players are in high demand. What's Gary Neville said here? He does not believe the erratic duo of Jesus and Nketiah are clinical enough to get Arsenal over the line. I think we need another goal scorer. With the greatest of respect to Eddie Nketiah, Gary Neville, have some respect and don't put Gabriel Jesus and Nketiah in the same lineup, really. I hear that. And I don't really want to read what you have to say. Who really cares what you have to say? Who really cares what this man has to say about him attacking Mikel Arteta's handling of Aaron Ramsdale? Big up David Seaman. He said David Raya. David Seaman has said David Raya is under pressure. Is he? Because he started every game. Arteta defended him with his distribution, even though it got groans from in and around the ground. And to be fair, if the gaffer's telling you to do that, you have to do that. And I respect the temperament from him. It's become clear that Raya is the number one. I wouldn't say the door's completely shut to Aaron Ramsdale, because I've been impressed with Raya. But if I'm honest with you, I'm not really onto him for the mistake against Lens. But the bigger games, I'm yet to be wowed. Like, I liked what you did against City, and at the end of the day, we kept a clean sheet. But there was that Julian Alvarez moment. The kicking in the second half was very good, but initially in the first half was dodgy. I remember there was a pass you sold Declan Rice very short, and I think Declan Rice saved his bacon early doors with that effort off the line, because I don't know where Raya was diving. Raya isn't alone, but the first goal, in the build-up to the first goal in the North London derby, I wasn't necessarily impressed with that. Again, when you're playing out from the back and making difficult passes, I'm not really onto you for the Lens mistake, but fundamentally, it's a big game. It's our second game in the Champions League. It's our first away from home in a gazillion years. So I haven't really been moved by David Raya in the big games, but I think it's a good competition to have, really and truly. David Seaman said you could feel the tension, and every time Raya got it, the fans wanted him to get rid of it a bit later, which is why I respect Raya. If the fans are groaning and Man City are onto you like a rash and you're still doing what the gaffer's told you, I respect it, really, which I don't think Ramsdale would, really. He got caught by Foden when he got a block on him, and it went to the right-hand side of the post for Arsenal. I think that was Alvarez. Some of his distribution wasn't. He needs to tidy that up. He knows that. He's good at that as it's one of his strongest assets. You could feel the tension every time he held onto it. The crowd screaming at him, class English, to get rid of it. I felt he was under pressure apart from a couple. Fair enough. I don't think everyone's the number one, but I think you're the number one now. 100+ journalists suggest phenomenal striker is now more likely to join Chelsea than Arsenal in January with Victor Osimhen. There you have it there. What has exactly been said? There are suitors out there. We know Chelsea have liked him for a long time. They are sitting and watching this contract situation, which is contracted until 2025. So next summer, a decision has to be made. He will be a lot of money money over 100 million euros. We know that it's a fascinating one. Osimhen only he knows if he wants to sign a new deal. We can't rule out anything with Chelsea. Will they bid big in January? Quite possibly. I don't think anyone else would be willing to make that big bid in January. Arsenal have looked at him in the past. Apparently, we've had his agents at London Colney. They do like him, but is that too much for Arsenal to do in January? I think it would probably be if we're talking 100 plus. I mean, I don't know who would sell, but in theory, you know, maybe Reece Nelson, Smith-Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, a couple of million from Cedric. Maybe if Aaron Ramsdale, there's an offer. I'm not saying I'd sanction this, but if you can make up the difference from elsewhere, just assuming we've spent 80 million on Tony, I don't know. I don't think anyone expects us to get Osimhen in January. I'm not going to read this, but this is actually said we've been linked with money plus offering Gabriel Jesus to sign Osimhen, which, again, we're not going to waste time. Again, Ivan Toney's been linked with us. We've been linked with a fullback, Miguel Gutierrez, formerly of Real Madrid. He's apparently one of the left-back options as Mikel Arteta seeks to strengthen his squad. That's according to this outlet. He's emerged as a target for Arsenal. He's currently at Genoa, people. I wouldn't say we're weak at left-back because you've got Tomiyasu who can play there. I never want to see it, but in theory, Saka can play there. Obviously, you've got Timber who's now injured, so I wouldn't be against bringing someone in. And you also have Cedric. I would love Arsenal to sign Aaron Hickey from Brentford, but he's going to cost an arm and a leg, if I'm honest with you. So there's that. Gonyanto, who we've been linked with before, people can't say no to a Premier League offer, and apparently he's drawing interest, people from Premier League clubs. I don't think Arsenal go for him, but he's been linked with us before. A player that some Arsenal fans wanted, and he probably shocked everyone when he joined Aston Villa. Yuri Telemans, apparently he wants to quit Aston Villa after a fallout already with Unai Emery. He's yet to start a Premier League game, and he's believed to be keen on the move in January. I wonder if there's a deal to be had there, or if anybody actually wants that, people. I was reading that myself in relation to David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. I might do a video for that. I'd love for us to sign Scalvini. He's been linked with Manchester United. Once again, we've been linked with the same players. Calvin Phillips has been told he can leave Manchester City in January, and we've been linked with him prior. So you could imagine to see them kind of links there probably over the next few months refilter. Should we see if there's anything else Arsenal related? I mean, somebody hit up Samir Nasri, obviously, at the game. We don't agree and condone that. Don't seem like there's anything. Arsenal are told to invest in Pedro Neto and Ivan Toney instead of who? Osimhen. You can get Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen for virtually, I mean, big up Curtis Shaw, but I think that's Kevin Campbell speaking on such. I mean, I actually think Mudrik's going to hit the ground running sooner or later for Chelsea, and that would have been a good signing. I don't see how Chelsea are getting Osimhen without a 10-year contract. To be fair, you get the bag. If we don't go hard for Osimhen, where your comments on? If we don't go hard for Osimhen, we're nowhere near serious. We allowed DRB to go to Villa and Kudus to West Ham, and people are talking about Eddie. To be fair with you, just because we was interested in them doesn't mean we necessarily went for them, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're not serious. But I hear you. Telemans no feint sounds like trouble. Raw already. Yuri wants to leave. I'm glad I'm one of the few people who never wanted him. Telemans dead food. People wanted him too. Poor, seriously. A lot of our fans are sloppy cowboy builder types. You lot are harsh, man. Kirill has filled in as well too. Big up Kirill. Forgot about him. Another left back option. Chelsea will spend the bread for Osimhen, which is why I said go back for Vlahovic at 70-80. To be fair, I don't think Vlahovic, has set the world alight. But for me, I wouldn't mind going for Vlahovic again, just because, what was it? It weren't last January. It was some January before that, 2022. Just because of the intent we went for him. Surely Mikel Arteta has said what he thinks he's good at, he's bad at, how he can improve the team, get it done. Raya is number one. He's coach, protege. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Amen. Smash the like button and keep your thoughts coming. Imagine prioritizing Chelsea reject Havertz for Haaland, Smith-Rowe. I mean, at the end of the day, rightly or wrongly, whether I agree with you or not, bro, Arteta spent 65 million on Havertz, and I don't see where the end goal is for Havertz personally. I do think at times he's been harshly treated, but anyone that says he's convincing is a liar. Obviously, the metrics off the ball, the technical fouls, all of that, it's all great. Nice to see him look well as a false nine, but is he a striker? Is he a number 8? If he was to get a run as a false 9, would he grab that shirt, or would we be convinced? Has he grabbed the shirt in the left 8? He can play in other roles. Right now, it's looking like you should be a sub, if I'm honest with you. But again, it's the Kai Havertz derby after the international break. Maybe he does a thing. We were looking at Neto for a while. Who's the competition outside of Liverpool when they sell Salah? Apparently, he's been linked with Man United, and who knows, there might be clubs from abroad as well. Yo, DG, looking forward, what area of the pitch would you say we need a massive revamp? Front, forward line, midfield, or defense? I think we need 2 centre midfielders, really. Unless I wake up and Kai Havertz has grabbed that number 8, or Fabio has grabbed that 8, or Smith-Rowe gets a chance and grabs that 8. I think we need, as I said earlier, legitimate options, you know, that can play in the pivot with Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. And even out of Declan Rice, Jorginho, El Nene, and there's definitely someone else. Declan Rice is the only one, because of his age and the money we spent and the contract, that's going to be here for a long time. They're, in the next 18 months or so, Jorginho, El Nene is probably gone in the summer. Jorginho probably gone in the summer. Partey is a political one, probably gone in the summer. 2 of the 3 at least, or 1 of the 3. I think we need legitimate options that can compete or play with them. I think we need the younger Partey, so that's another number 6. Obviously, Declan Rice could become an 8 kind of thing, but 6 is where he's at home at the moment. I think we need an 8 and a 6, like out-and-out organic options in that regards. As I said earlier, I wouldn't be against bringing in another winger into the mix. I would love another striker. And I think we could do with another defensive set. I didn't believe it at first, but I actually think there's scope for another centre half, or definitely like a Timber Tomiyasu, not quite Kyrgios, but Kyrgios in the sense of definitely the first 2 names I said, in that they can play 3 of the back 4 positions, or, well, to be fair, they can play all across the back. Well, Timber and Tomiyasu can play across the back 4, if that makes sense. I agree with Uncle Ian. Tony looks like the missing piece. I'd rather our scouts do our jobs, but I'm all for Ivan Tony, Osimhen, all these guys. I'd rather Pedro Neto than a forward. I'm a bit pessimistic on whether we'll attain either or both. But yeah, man, really and truly, I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal sign an unknown player in January. That could be it. Vlahovic is back in favour at Juventus, and that was his dream move. So you could probably put to bed that then, essentially, really and truly. They'll sack Unai before they let Telemans leave so soon. Who knows, man? Because it looks like Unai Emery is doing half decent at Aston Villa at the moment. Really, you never know. And based on the length of contract, I assume that Yuri Telemans is under. Yeah, it's a bit like Jadon Sancho and Ten Hag. You know, it looks like another player that I don't know if you lot want Jadon Sancho at the carpet or not, but another one that, based on, obviously, there's a lot going wrong at United, more than Ten Hag, but in theory, Jadon Sancho and a couple of players could say, you know what, Ten Hag might get sacked before my contract runs down. So it is what it is. Completely off topic, but apparently Arsenal physiotherapist Simon Murphy is accompanying Thomas Partey on international duty, people, with Ghana. So yeah, man, I don't think there's maybe there's been, but I don't think there's ever been a player, or there's any of these other players that Arsenal have sent physios to accompany them during the international period. You'd imagine someone followed Saka initially before he pulled out of the England camp. Really, so yeah, it's quite interesting in that regards. 4 p.m. I'm gonna go live again as well, folks, so yeah, make sure you're there for that one. Keep your opinions coming. Should we see if there's anything in general in the world of football to discuss? It don't seem like there's anything. Obviously, there's the whole geopolitical issues. We're not gonna get into that at this moment in time. You know, Saudi Arabia still keen on signing Lionel Messi. Doesn't seem like there's anything really. What happened to Gideon Zelalem? That looks like a good article. Isn't he playing in Holland? Nice to see him get his career back on track. Don't seem like there's anything really. I would have loved for Arsenal to sign Victor Roeg. Edu still wants Jonathan David. You know what? Actually, I'm always working for you lot, people. And you can't see, and my handwriting's terrible, but I'm actually doing an edited piece where we're going to just go over the strikers we've been linked with. And that's actually another name to, if this pen would work, be added to the list. I can't lie, I'm back on the Lautaro Martinez campaign, you know, because he's starting to show me you can play without certain target men and things like that. But let's add David. I'm not really convinced on David. There's definitely another one. You could put Simic there as well. You could put Sesko there as well. So yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 14 strikers for that video. Do you like Xavi Simons? 100%. 100%. You know, he wowed me when I went to the game at the Emirates. I wouldn't say he pulled up any trees, and definitely the game in the Europa League, they beat us. One of them YouTube wonder kids that's actually looking half decent. He's a bad boy footballer. Unfortunately, I think he's more likely to stay at Leipzig for another season or go back to PSG than them doing business with us. But if there was a chance, get it done. And to be honest with you, I see no reason. I understand it because he gets minutes and he's playing and he's showing importance over at the club he's at the moment. But definitely with what PSG showed against Newcastle, there's no reason why I don't think Xavi Simons couldn't have been integrated. Not a fan of our comfortable relationship with Chelsea and transfer. It seems like we get the bog standard players, really and truly. You know, only the Declan Rices and the Eddie Nketiahs, players that have been released from Chelsea, seem to be the only Chelsea ties that are half decent. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. El Hilal are desperate to get Messi. I know a guy on the inside due to work I'm involved in. The Crown has given them an open checkbook to pursue it. I mean, get an open checkbook to upgrade my analytics and my platform, man. Use the Saudi money for the right things, or you know, if you El Hilal, I've always, you know, from a little boy, I've always supported them. Tell them that if they need a content creator, someone to interview the player, shout me. I'll be on the next flight to Saudi Arabia, man. Give me 6 months, we get the bag and whatnot. That means Partey has a knock. It could mean he has a knock, or it could just mean Arsenal want to run the close risk over him and make sure his training regime is patterned in a way that he doesn't return back to England with any issues. We should have probably kept Charlie. I think he could have done well in the 8. He could have, but you've got Havertz in front of him, Fabio in front of him, technically Smith-Rowe in front of him, Declan Rice and Partey could play in the pivot, Jorginho and El Nene. That's about 7, 8 midfielders, really, that could play. End of the day, Charlie's playing week in, week out at Swansea, building on the loan at Blackpool. Hopefully he can stay, have a pathway at Arsenal and sign a new deal next summer. But minutes are currency. Minutes are vital for young players, and he's getting that. You know, I look at Eddie Nketiah and I look at Reece Nelson, 2 players who have, you know, whether you like them or not, they've got a role in the squad. I wonder how much more ahead would Eddie or Nelson be if they were at teams where they can get 10, 20 league starts, or, you know, however many minutes that would be across if you play 20 to 30 plus games a season. DG, do you think that Partey and Rice can play as a midfield duo? Yeah, I think in games like City, I know we ended the game with that, but I think when it's games where it's kind of even in midfield, we've got to be able to do that, really and truly. Your thoughts on Sevilla back-to-back? We're going to have to get it done, my bro. Simple as that. Sevilla always scares me. You know, the Europa League is their trophy. As I said, when the draw was made, it's the away games. You know, our away form has been great. But it's the away games that, for me, make or break us in the Champions League. And you saw in the last away game, I don't think we lost because it was a noisy atmosphere and all of that. But it is special in the Champions League. It doesn't fill me. I'm kind of scared, and we have to hit back. We have to hit back against Sevilla. It's as simple as that. The group is still wide open. I don't want to touch Europa League. This is why I want the strongest team to go out there. A lot of people, we ultimately lost against Lens. And I'm not saying people are wrong because there were injuries. But people that called for massive rotation, in my opinion, they're disrespecting the Champions League. They're disrespecting our opponents. They're acting like we've earned the right to do that. And when you look at the performance, which of course they couldn't have seen, but you look at the performance with our strongest team, everybody but Tomiyasu and Havertz, did they not start the City game after that? You look at what we put out there with the strong team and how we played. Imagine a rotated lineup. Now, granted, yes, a rotated lineup could have meant we played better, we won, and we waffle. You just never know. This is all hypotheticals and all of those sort of things, but I'm sure you get the point, man. So, yeah, interesting talking points. Appreciate you lot, people. I thought this would be a dead stream because it's the international break, but how wrong was I, people? Big up you lot, really and truly. But with that being said, don't look like there's anything more to offer to you lot, people. Don't want to waste you lot's time. As usual, I appreciate you lot for engaging with the content, for watching the content. Big up my silent listeners as well. If you're on YouTube, please make sure you're smashing the like button, you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're leaving a comment after. I'm back at 4 p.m. with an Arsenal and Liverpool. Well, I will be the Arsenal fan, but I'm with a Liverpool and Spurs fan. Have a watch out for that. We'll cover everything you lot have to discuss. Check out the YouTube community tab, people, and check out the piece I've done on William Saliba, and make sure you've got your notification bells on because there will be some more edited pieces. As you know, I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah, man, let me go have some lunch. You lot take care, stay blessed and all of that good stuff. Smash the like button, subscribe and that. Appreciate you lot for spending 55 odd minutes with me. Bless, man.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like there's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like
Tongue